Hi, on this episode of Healthline, it's all about nutrition. From classes that teach you how to make healthy recipes to learning how to plant and grow your own garden. Fulton County has a number of services to help residents master that fine art of eating better. We'll talk to the Director of Cooperative Extension, Dr. Menia Chester, about those programs. Plus, we'll show you some healthy food options and cooking tips so you can eat better without skimping on the flavor. That's coming up on Healthline. Hi, Fulton County. Welcome to Healthline. I'm Lynn Vaughn. Today's show is focused on good nutrition. Eating right is a daily decision that greatly impacts your health. Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, healthy eating prevents high cholesterol and blood pressure. It also lowers your risk of developing chronic illnesses like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Proper nutrition also reduces your risk of becoming obese or of developing osteoporosis. Now, joining me now to talk about how to make those healthy food choices is our Director of Cooperative Extension. She is Menia Chester. Welcome back to Healthline.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, always a pleasure. You know, one of your educators said to me that cooperative extension services are really equivalent to the old home economics classes that those of us of a certain age took back in the day. Is that a good way to think about it?
Yes. Well, we have a department within our department called Family and Consumer Sciences, and we changed the name. Not we as a country, we changed the name as a profession to Family and Consumer Sciences from Home Economics because it is a science. Everything to do with your home, from budgeting to eating healthy, teaching people how to eat healthy, how to preserve your food, all of that is a science. So it is Family and Consumer Sciences.
I'm wondering, are they still teaching that in schools? I wish they were.
Yes, we do have Family and Consumer Sciences classes in high schools. Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. So clients get to learn all about how to eat better. Let's start with shopping. What is the best way? How do you shop for healthy food?
First, you have to start with your budget. Then you have to start with a list, create a meal plan for your family. And once you do that, then you have an idea of how much you can spend, what you need to buy, and stick to that list when you go to the grocery store.
Okay, and don't go to the store when you're hungry.
Do not go to the store when you're hungry, and stay on those outside aisles. Down the middle of those, in the center aisles, there are a lot of processed foods, so stay away from that.
Oh, explain. I didn't realize that. You mean in the bins on the outside where the fresh vegetables are?
If you think about your grocery store, you have fresh vegetables, then you have your bread, then you have your meats, and then you have dairy. But if you go down the center aisles, that's where you have all the packaged foods. So try to stay on the perimeter and stick with your list.
I did not know that. That is good to know. Now, one of the more popular programs that you've instituted is the Fulton Fresh Mobile Farmers Market program. Give us just a little bit about how that works.
The Fulton Fresh Mobile Farmers Market program is actually a nutrition education program to get people used to tasting what healthy food tastes like. Growing up in Milledgeville, Georgia, we had squash and onions all the time, but they would cook that squash until it was just mush, and I didn't like it.
Yes.
But we teach people how to cook their vegetables until they have a little bit of crunch to them, but they're done, but they're very tender, and they are flavorful. We teach them to use lots of fresh herbs and spices to make their foods taste good. We also give a recipe with every class, and we have an educational extender that we give with the class as well. If you attend 6 weeks of the classes, you'll get a cookbook or certificate of graduation, and you get measuring spoons. We teach you how much water to drink, how to read a label, so many different things, and you get a small bag of vegetables with each class that you attend.
Awesome, awesome. Well, another nutrition program is SNAP, an acronym for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. What's that about, and how does that work?
The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is an educational program. It's a nutrition education program that teaches people who are eligible for SNAP benefits to use their SNAP benefits wisely, and our SNAP educators are actually the ones who are teaching the Fulton Fresh classes now. It used to be me out there teaching, but we received a grant from the USDA to do more work in Fulton County. So we have 3 educators who have full-time jobs out there teaching.
Awesome, awesome. What's an easy way for people to understand caloric intake? We hear people talk all the time about calories. You should have, 1,600 a day, 1,200 a day if you want to lose weight and what have you. What's a good way to think about that or for people to measure those?
Well, there are different apps you can use on your phone, but I would first start with my doctor. Like I know how many calories I am supposed to take in per day. I burn a lot of calories because I do run and I'm very, very active. I lift weights, I exercise, do jumping jacks and all this other stuff. But other people who are not as active, they may be a little bit more sedentary, their calories may be reduced a little bit, and there are other things that they can do to move around as well. But the most important thing is to burn more calories than you put in.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty. That makes sense.
Yes.
That makes good sense.
Exactly.
What are some of the substitutions that people can make, getting back to the preparation of food? What are some of the substitutions that people can make? We are so accustomed in our diets to butter and sour cream and just all of those rich tasting, good tasting foods. How do we change that?
We have a recipe. It's called the crunchy apple salad. In the South, it's called the Waldorf salad, and we usually use mayonnaise to make that.
Yes.
Well, in our office, we teach people to use yogurt to make this salad. So it's just yogurt, apples, and raisins instead of the highly caloric, fatty, good-tasting mayonnaise that
what
we
about
usually.
the nuts?
Yeah, and we
The
have
nuts
nuts and pecans in it.
The
Yes,
nuts
of course.
that go in there. Okay.
And the proper portion sizes are important too, because I did have someone today to tell me how much they love that salad, but they eat it every day and they eat a lot of it. And I said, you have to remember, it's good. It's only good for you if you eat the proper portion. Too much of anything is not good for you.
What's the challenge for you as an educator about nutrition? What is it that's hard for people to grasp?
One thing is people say that it's too expensive to eat healthy, and it could cost more, it could not. If you're not trying to eat seasonally, non-seasonal vegetables and fruit are very, very expensive, but if you eat seasonally, growing up, we would never eat watermelon in January, but because of the way the transit system is now, we can have watermelon from wherever, anywhere in the world, but it's going to be a little bit more costly. So eat seasonally and learn how to prepare those meals in a healthy manner.
Now, it is true that I've seen in the grocery store that things that don't have artificial ingredients can cost more than things that are supposed to be natural and healthy.
Yes.
So what do we do about that?
We need to learn how to prepare your own things, and don't waste food. And don't waste. A lot of times we waste food because we may not eat all of everything that we may prepare. We also teach people how to actually freeze food properly, how to thaw it out properly, and on how to preserve it. If you have some extra apples around, we could teach you how to make your own applesauce.
Well, tell me about the freezing, because
Yes.
I'm not sure I'm doing it properly. How do you do that?
Number one, you have to make sure that you label your bags, because a lot of times we put things in the freezer and we do not know what that thing is, because once it's frozen, it all looks the same. And you need to make sure you put a date on there. You don't want to have things in your freezer too long. I had someone to call our office. They call us all the time to ask us if they could still eat things. And someone said that someone had given them some Alaskan wild-caught salmon 7 years ago. Is it still good?
7 years?
7 years.
Oh my goodness.
And she said it was vacuum
They
packaged.
could have asked me that. and
Yes.
I could have told them.
Yes,
no.
yes. And I said the texture of it may not be what you want it to be.
Yeah.
So a lot of times if we keep things in the freezer extra long, it's not that it's spoiled, it just the texture has changed.
Yes.
And it's not what we want it to be.
Okay, and refrigeration.
Yes. And when you put things in the refrigerator, make sure you put your meats on the bottom, because if you put your meat on the top shelf and a package is leaky, then you've just contaminated everything in your refrigerator and you have to throw everything out. So put those kinds of things on the bottom shelf.
As the kids say, been there, done that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, we will be right back with some more tips on healthy eating right after this. And welcome back to Healthline. I have with me again Fulton's Director of Cooperative Extension, Dr. Menia Chester, and she has brought with her a beautiful array of fresh food. You know, they say in America that we live to eat and we should be eating to live. How does this help us eat to live?
Well, you are absolutely correct. We do live to eat because as a foodie myself, I love to eat different kinds of things. But with an array like this, you want to make sure your plate has different colors on it so that you make sure that you're getting the proper nutrients. A lot of times our plate, if we'll look at it, it's all brown or it's all white. And we just need to make sure we have different things on it and a variety of things as well.
Let's start on this end. What do we have here?
We have some bell peppers. This is a yellow bell pepper and red bell pepper, beets, different kinds of lettuces. We have kale. Kale is like one of those hot foods right now.
Oh, very trendy.
Yes,
very trendy.
Very trendy. And we also have some carrots. And I brought some different color carrots because you'll see in the grocery stores now because it's winter where we're just starting spring, but we have like
lift one of those up because I don't think a lot of people are aware that there are different kinds of
this is a purple carrot. This kind of looks like a parsnip, but it is a carrot. And then this is the color carrot we're all used to, an orange carrot, but they all taste the same, but they look really good when you cook them. And then also, in the wintertime, we always want to have fruit as well, but if we eat seasonally in Georgia, we don't have a lot of fruit in the wintertime. But we have strawberries that are coming from Florida, which they don't cost as much when they come from a closer area.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Well, this is my favorite right here. I just love a nice crunchy apple.
Yes.
And then you've got some tangerines.
Yes.
And this is also Florida grown, isn't it?
Yes. This is called a Mineola, and it is a very, very sweet type of orange. And a lot of times people say, I want a huge orange. This little orange is all you need.
Okay. I've never even heard of that before, a Mineola.
Yes. They have them in the grocery stores. We probably just don't know what they're called.
Okay.
We just buy because they're there and they're on sale. But portion sizes are very important as well.
Okay. Now, moving a little bit further down, we've got some more leafy green vegetables and again another colored pepper. Now, let's also look at what Americans tend to eat a lot of.
Yes. We tend to eat a lot of pizza with nothing else. And our portion sizes, we don't eat one slice of pizza. I was talking with someone today and they said, well, how many slices of pizza do you normally eat? And I said, probably about 3 or 4. But then I go work out so that I can burn those calories.
Yeah.
But a slice of pizza is typically the serving size. And then also we want to talk about what a serving size of meat is for us.
I'm going to hold up our little plate here so that we can see. Okay.
So this is a typical serving size. This is about the size of the palm of your hand. It's 3 ounces of meat. Most people will eat a chicken breast this size.
Right. This is not a half a chicken.
This is not a
quarter
but
chicken.
But this is the serving size of protein that you will need. And when this is a serving of green beans, and I put the macaroni and cheese here because we eat this or more. And
that is a cultural favorite.
Yes, and we should be eating about half of that. And a pat of butter. Yes.
You see that?
Yes. Half of that. Yes. So we are eating too much. It's not necessarily what we're eating all the time. It's just too much. And a pat of butter is pretty small too.
So we do need to incorporate some oils or fats, if you will, into our diet.
Yes.
But how much should that be daily?
It just depends on what your body size is, body type. But I always tell people if it's liquid going in, then it'll be liquid going through your veins. If it is solid, like shortening of whatnot or butter, then that's when we start to have problems with things.
Okay, so show me the portion size again.
1 pat of butter.
A day.
No, when you're eating your...
when you're eating...
Yes,
per meal.
Per meal.
Whenever,
well,
that's doable.
But a lot of times we'll put more than that on there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when we are eating bread and we're at a restaurant, we will dip into that butter over and over and over again. And it makes it taste good.
It
does.
We
have to kind of think about, maybe using something else like margarine, a little less of everything is good.
Okay, now I hear lots of people say, and I've never understood this too well, that they hate to drink water.
Yes.
I love water.
Yes.
How much water should we be consuming every day?
You should be consuming, what we recommend is 8 glasses of water a day. And everybody says, what, how much is that? This is 16 fluid ounces. That's 2 glasses. That's 2 8-ounce glasses of water. So you only need 4 of these. Or you can take your water to work in a bottle like this. And we have nutrition classes, and we give these to people who attend our nutrition classes. And you can put things in it like strawberries, blueberries to flavor it. A lot of people put flavoring packets in it, but it also doesn't, you're not used to the taste of water. And so we're not trying to mask the taste of water. You need to learn how to enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I do. Now, how do you prepare some of these vegetables in such a way that they're not going to taste like they did when Grandma made them? But what's the best way to prepare fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, so that they have a good taste?
You can use herbs and spices. That's why we put the jalapeno peppers there. Right now they are coming from Mexico, but in the summertime they are very prevalent in Georgia, and they're very inexpensive. They're inexpensive now, but to give it a little kick, you can also use onions and garlic. And some people use turkey, smoked turkey, to put in their vegetables. We try to tell people not to put meat in their vegetables when they're cooking them, because that kind of takes away from it a little bit. But with the collard greens, you can cook them without meat. You can eat them in a salad, a raw collard green salad. And I'll tell you, my family said, "What, a raw collard green salad? I'm not going to eat that." But once I prepared it for them, they loved it.
And I tasted it at one of our Fulton Fresh Mobile Farmers Market events, and I was quite surprised at how good it tasted. Actually, all of the dishes, the ground turkey, and just all of the dishes. What about dessert? Lots of people are big fans of bread and big fans of dessert.
Me included. I love to eat sweet things, but I realize that they're not good for me all the time. And so I will eat fresh fruit instead. And then we have recipes in our cookbook that tell you how to make things with using yogurt instead of the sour cream we would typically put in things. And you can use fruit, yogurt, granola to make these wonderful things. We even have a recipe for a healthy peach cobbler type dish.
Say what?
It's called peach crumble. Yes.
Peach crumble. Let's find that in here, okay? Let's hurry up and find that one in here. Well, what information do you give people in the classes, in the nutrition classes? They
learn how to prepare healthy food, how to store it, because a lot of times, we'll do things like thaw things on the countertop, and we shouldn't really do that, especially like meat. We should be thawing things in the refrigerator on the bottom shelf so that we don't contaminate anything else. We also teach you about freezing, because a lot of times if you buy a bell pepper, you may not use the entire bell pepper and it'll go to waste, or the onions, but you can chop them up, put them in a freezer bag, label it properly, and put it in your freezer, and you can use them still.
Now, one of the things I want to ask you about, when I'm shopping for fresh vegetables, I don't always know what they're supposed to look like. For example, how green is a green pepper supposed to be? Do you get the lighter ones or the darker ones in terms of celery and all of those things? What's your advice on that?
It just depends on how much sun they got. Most people don't know that a red bell pepper is just a green bell pepper that stayed on the vine a little longer.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay. And if you put them on your countertop, sometimes they'll start to turn red or orange. And then a yellow bell pepper is grown that way. It's green and then it turns yellow when it's ripe. So it just depends. It needs to look very...
Wait a minute. Got to edit my cough out. I'm sorry. We can keep going, though.
Yes, it needs to look very fresh and appealing. A green bell pepper should not be shriveled up. It shouldn't be shriveled up. Your lettuces should look appealing. They shouldn't be all brown and everything.
Now, my mom told me that apples should be dark, and that they are sweeter the darker the skin color.
It depends on the variety. This is a cameo apple, and it is very crunchy. It's very, very sweet. Now, if that apple were not crunchy, we would know that something is wrong with it. It's been out there too long. But this is a very sweet apple.
Okay, and greens, what should they look like?
They should look very crisp, very fresh. Some of the greens that come from across the country, say from California or somewhere, they are fresh when we get them, and sometimes they stay in the grocery store a little too long, and they start to look wilted. But they spray water on them to keep them alive. We're back to our water again. Everything and everybody needs water.
Yes, yes. Well, there's no question that good nutrition is the foundation of a healthy living, healthy lifestyle. So overall, what is the message for us?
The message is to eat healthy, exercise. And if you cannot go running or you can't do jumping jacks, there are other things that you can do. Get up and move. Let's move. That is what we should be doing, moving.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Well, thank you, Dr. Menia Chester. Your program is so excellent and so wonderful. I remember that one of the first years after you did Fulton Fresh Mobile Farmers Market, you got a donation from the Arthur Blank Foundation and just lots of notoriety. Oh, why do we do that, though?
The Fulton Fresh Mobile Farmers Market?
Yes.
We have this program because we have food deserts in Fulton County, places where they do not have access to large grocery stores. And when you don't have a large grocery store in your area, you don't have access to fresh fruit and vegetables. When you can't eat fresh fruit and vegetables, then you only have access to unhealthy things to eat, which in turn causes the chronic diseases in the area to go really, really high. So people who live in food deserts have high instances of chronic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure. And so what we're trying to teach people is you can eat healthy and it doesn't have to be so expensive. And so we show them how to prepare healthy foods that their families will enjoy. And we give them a small bag of vegetables and recipes to go along with it.
So it can taste good and it's good for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy it when you're here.
Thank you.
We hope this discussion on nutrition has been informative and helpful to you. I know it's been so for me. Now remember, you can get more information about Cooperative Extension by calling 404-332-2400. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time right here on Healthline.
Welcome to our program. I'm Daryl Carver. We're talking today about how judges and school officials are trying to keep growing numbers of students from ending up on the wrong side of the law. A grant-funded program at juvenile court is literally trying to keep kids in school and out of prison. FGTV's Priscilla Ortega starts us off.
Fulton is one of 16 jurisdictions across the country chosen to be a part of the School Pathways Project. Now the goal is to prevent students from getting a criminal record. So leaders from the Fulton and Atlanta public school systems joined juvenile court judges to lay out their action plan. From local schools to behind bars, that's the pipeline school and juvenile court leaders want to derail.
We have to move from a reactive posture to a more proactive posture.
Fulton's juvenile court judges and a host of education leaders have been drafting ideas for more than a year. Now the group is ready to move forward with their plan of working together to help disruptive students.
That one approach is for us is to be a resource as a partnership within the schools for the principals. We have that presence there on the property, but also we serve as mentors for the students.
According to the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice, in 2013, the Fulton County Juvenile Detention Center admitted about 1,700 youth. But through the School Pathways program, schools will have additional resources to help students that commit low-level offenses like fighting. So instead of having those students arrested, the program will focus on fixing the underlying issues that may be causing the kids to lash out.
This is not about diverting cases that are of more serious or violent nature. This is more so looking at low-level offenses for behavior that's really historically been considered disruptive, but has evolved to become considered delinquent.
We don't have to take kids and put them into a detention center where they're going to be exposed to a lot of bad actors and potentially even, gang recruitment. We don't need that.
Organizers from the School Pathways Project will continue to monitor and give guidance as the school systems and juvenile court judges continue with their plan. Reporting from the Juvenile Justice Center, I'm Priscilla Ortega for FGTV.
Thanks, Priscilla. The Honorable Renata Turner, one of our Fulton County Juvenile Court Associate Judges, spearheaded this Pathways initiative. First of all, Judge, welcome to Fulton at Work.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
Now, what exactly is the school-to-prison pipeline?
The school-to-prison pipeline is the consequence, unintentional or intentional, of over-criminalizing typical, normal school misbehavior. It started with the Columbine shootings, and the reaction to that was the advent of things like metal detectors at the entrances of schools, the zero tolerance policies that flourished throughout the country that threw children out of school for anything that could possibly be conceived as a weapon, from something as benign as a fingernail file or a toy gun. And then we started seeing more and more police officers or resource officers actually in school. And of course, these officers would arrest students for crimes, and they would end up in the criminal justice system. And the data is clear that when children enter the criminal justice system, the chances that they will continue into the justice system through their adulthood increases exponentially. And so the schools were unwittingly actually creating a pathway or a pipeline from schools to prison for far too many of our children, particularly our minority and poor children.
Now, how specifically then does the School Pathways Project address that pipeline?
So the School Pathways Project attempts to cut off the pipeline and instead create a pathway from school to success in adulthood. We do that primarily by identifying the crimes that need to stay in school, crimes typically that you and I would have been just sent to the principal's office for, crimes that can be dealt with in school without actually having to get criminal justice involvement.
Now, how then would you separate those crimes from more serious crimes? What are some of the examples of some of the referrals that are school-based that would be specifically addressed by this?
So last fall, the schools, both school systems, APS and Fulton County, along with their resource officers and police officers, came together and talked about which crimes we thought could stay out of the criminal justice system. And those crimes is consisted of things like battery, if you hit a student, fighting, affray, obstruction if you run from the police or run from a police officer, and things like misdemeanor marijuana possession. Things that are low-level offenses, nothing very serious, but things that we didn't feel needed to actually result in an arrest for a child.
Some people will say this is a school issue, others say it's a justice system issue. What are the advantages of juvenile court, Fulton County Schools, Atlanta Public Schools all partnering on these school-based referrals?
It's a both-and issue. It's both a criminal justice or juvenile justice issue and a school issue. We are working with the same group of kids, so we can't really dissect them as we seek to help them. So this collaboration actually allows us to work together to partner to address the needs of the children before they become embroiled in the juvenile justice system. And I think this is really critical that more and more systems look for ways to bridge our services because, again, we're working to help the same group of kids, and it doesn't benefit them if we're working in silos. We need to be talking together, sharing data, and sharing resources in order to get the most benefit to help these children.
Now, I know recently the juvenile court signed a memorandum of understanding with both APS and the Fulton schools. What do these cover and why are they so significant?
So the MOUs cover, really identify the crimes that we're not going to send automatically to juvenile court and gives the resource officers or police officers a pretty clear guidelines on how to handle these crimes when they are perpetrated in school. So we identified the crimes, again, that we didn't want to automatically come into court. We discussed how police officers or resource officers on school campuses can have the authority to use their discretion to determine what would be the proper response to the incident, whether or not it just needs to be a mediation right there on site to talk to the kids, whether or not the kids may need some more intensive services, whether it's counseling or including family counseling, or if we actually did want to engage the juvenile court without actually having to file charges. The court is partnering with the schools to offer our probation services to divert, again, the cases from coming to court. Things like our mediation program, or we have other youth-involved programs that they can engage in without having to actually have charges filed against them.
And Judge Turner, we're going to go more into these issues in just a moment, and we'll talk a little bit more about all of this when we come back. Please stay with us.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the Dome Star. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Welcome back. We've been talking about how the Fulton County courts have partnered with school officials to keep kids in class and out of jail. Now, Juvenile Court Associate Judge Renata Turner, before we left, we mentioned that you had a memorandum of understanding that the court signed with APS and Fulton County Schools. I wanted to go a little bit more into this program, though. I know our FGTV crew was able to attend 2 of the School Pathways Project meetings. Can you give us some idea of all the consideration and work that went into preparing those MOUs?
Yes, Fulton was very fortunate. We were one out of 16 counties throughout the country that was selected to receive technical assistance through the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. And they helped us get started and guided us through the process of creating our own specific MOUs and pathway solutions. We've met with leaders from the Department of Justice, Georgia Appleseed, of course, both school systems and their school resource and police officers. And we talked about the data that shows the reality that when kids are removed from school for out-of-school suspensions or detained or even sent to our alternative schools, the chances that they graduate just plummet. And again, if they are in the juvenile justice system, the chances are that they will end up in prison or in and out of jail while they're adults also increases. And so once we met to talk about the data, to talk about the solutions, and I think we all, in our conversations, we realized that we were all on the same page. Again, working in our individual silos, but still on the same page. And so we just wanted to break down those silos in order to really do the work and make it more than just theoretical, but actual work and practical work. And so we've been meeting throughout 2015. We met toward the end of 2015 to actually craft the MOU and to flesh out the details for that. More recently, we've met to hammer out the resources that we're going to offer to kids, the alternatives to arresting them or suspending them. So we're working together to pool our resources together and our services together, again, so we can be on the same page and provide the most bang for our buck and the biggest results for our children.
Now, in your view, how significant is it to see both of those school systems and the court systems of the state's largest county all come together to address these issues as one community?
I think it's very significant that the 2 largest school systems in the state, along with the largest juvenile court system in the state, came together and we were able to work together and forge a new path for our students. I know it's very tricky and scary whenever you're trying new things, whenever you appear to be light on crime, because everyone wants to be tough on crime, even though that does not always work, if it ever. But we came together despite all those landmines, if you will, of it not working and decided we had to do this for our children. Again, I think both systems realized that we had a problem and we had to address it, and we had to address it holistically. We could not just not talk to each other or talk at each other. We needed to talk with each other. And so I'm very proud of the work that both school systems have done, and proud of the work that the court is doing, and all of our pathway partners. This is a community-wide effort. We are relying on our social services organizations and our volunteer organizations to help us really craft out workable solutions and alternatives for our children who find themselves in trouble at school.
So what is next for the School Pathways Project?
So the next thing we're going to do is, again, solidify our resources, really identify services, some of them creative, some of them I'm sure we have not thought of yet, to address some of the misbehavior that's in school, address some of the underlying problems with children and their families that really is the genesis for a lot of the misbehavior. Our families are in trouble because of lack of jobs, education and skills within families, and a lot of dysfunction. And part of it is the mass incarceration of so many fathers and now mothers who are not in the home. So we're working with all collaborators to come up with solutions to really address those issues for children. And we're looking for ways to partner with other initiatives. We have a dually involved youth project in juvenile court in which we're addressing the needs of children who have both criminal and delinquent and dependent matters in court, to really hone in and focus on how to better address their needs. So we're partnering with other organizations, and we're just reaching out to the community and hoping that we, or not hoping, but we're going to make it happen, that we actually create successful alternatives to keep our children out of the criminal justice system and onto a pathway of success.
Well, and as we conclude this segment, I think one of the things I wanted to go into was how big a difference does it make separating out some of these young people that did commit these minor offenses from some young people that frankly are much more hardened criminals?
Right. So one of the things that happens when a kid is detained, first of all, you know, when we detain a child, that's like our trump card. That is the most severe punishment we can give them. So if we pull out the most severe punishment we can possibly offer for something that is minor, we don't have anything to graduate to if kids get into even deeper trouble. So we're putting kids who are, again, things that we would have been sent to the principal's office for, fighting or taking someone's calculator, or running from a police officer, or mouthing off at a school official. And we're locking up with kids who are involved with gangs, who are committing burglaries and carjackings. And so they learn to become better criminals, and they learn to affiliate with gangs. And so we're not doing any service to those kids whose lives could be easily turned around with the right guidance and the counseling and the support they need. We don't need to turn every misbehaving act into a criminal act. We don't need to manufacture our own criminals so that we're constantly feeding the criminal justice system or the prison system. We need to be redirecting our kids. Kids make mistakes. There's brain science to say kids' brains don't fully develop until they're 25, and so they still lack impulse control, and they still make bad decisions. And I'm sure anybody who is over the age of 25 knows that you've made plenty of mistakes in your teens and early 20s that you would not do if you could take it back. You wish you could take it back. And so we don't need to encapsulate a mistake that someone made when they're in their teens and make them pay for it the rest of their lives by exposing them to hardened criminals and to a prison system that's not designed to, unfortunately, rehabilitate them.
Judge Turner, thank you so much for joining us. I know we'll be hearing more about the Pathways Project over the coming months and years. Thank you so much for being our guest today. And we'll be right back with how police are keeping kids safe on school buses. Please stay with us.
The inherent right to work is one of the elemental privileges of a free people. endowed as our nation is with abundant physical resources, and inspired as it should be with the high purpose to make those resources and opportunities available for the enjoyment of all. We approach this problem of re-employment with the real hope of finding a better answer than we have now.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Now, Fulton Police have also formed a partnership with Fulton County Schools, but this agreement has to do with keeping kids safe on school buses. The Fulton County Board of Commissioners joined the Fulton County school system to help keep children safe on the road.
Request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between Fulton County Schools and Fulton County to implement a school bus safety camera enforcement program.
Move approval. Is there a second? Second.
The agreement will allow county police to use recorded images from cameras mounted to school buses. Those images may show motorists not stopping for children getting on and off of school buses. South Fulton traffic officers will then review film footage whenever a car appears to pass the stop arm of a school bus, and the cost for violators could be very high.
If you are convicted of passing a school bus stop arm, the fine is $550, and that's first offense.
Fines are not the only consequences violators of school bus stop arms face. Their insurance rates could go up, and too many violations could eventually result in the suspension of your driver's license. Most people seem to be confused if there is more than one lane of traffic. However, the law says the only time you're free to go around a stopped school bus on a multi-lane street is if there is a median between the opposing lanes. Chief Stiles says the department's written about a dozen tickets on people who have violated the law and offers this warning to future violators.
When you have a mounted camera on the school buses that activates when that arm comes out, that acts as the eyes of the police department.
6 county police officers will be trained to review recorded violations and send monthly reports to the school district on the number of violations issued. All parties hope the cameras will mean a safe bus ride for all of Fulton County students. Now, one final note on the buses. You may recall that Georgia state lawmakers back in 2011 approved a bill requiring that all traffic stop in both directions when school buses are stopped to pick up or drop off those young passengers. Thank you so much for joining us for Fulton at Work, and a very special thanks to our guest today. Now, we want to connect with you online. Please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm Daryl Carver, and we'll see you next time.
Ma.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Most party fouls? Not a big deal. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
I will not be news today. I will not make headlines by going through a bad girl phase where I get that bad girl haircut where they shave just one side of your head. And I will not bring a Komodo dragon as my +1 to an award show, even though that would be awesome. I'm Olivia Munn, and I will not be trending today because there's a much bigger story that needs to be heard.
That's the one. I will not be news today. I will not make another push to be the first man in space with frosted tips and a puka shell necklace. And I will not go viral when my terror is caught on camera when I finally realize that in the vacuum of space, no one can hear you sing. I'm Lance Bass, and I will not be trending today because there is a much bigger story that needs to be heard.
My name is Brian Abear. I'm the Arts Education Coordinator. This class is called it Fundamentals of Painting. Just work on the dark. And we're dealing with just the beginning stages of painting, how to set up a painting. Hey, Mr. Agnew. Which goes back to drawing, so we deal with a little bit of drawing as well.
Some color?
Yeah, let's do color.
Okay.
It's almost like therapy. We have a place where people can come in here and express themselves. You can come to class, you can paint, you can get your inner workings going and put it on canvas.
We have a bunch of folks who are like-minded, who are all artists, just trying to further in their development and taking advantage of the opportunity that Fulton County and Southwest Arts Center provides.
The Arts Center works very well for our community. I love it here.
I'm Brian Abear, and this is Fulton County.